rise and shine. So listen, I am up this morning as I always do. I've been up since about 5 a.m. Okay. And so, my normal routine, I get into my prayer, I get into my word, and I just really take that morning portion of the day that I have blessed with to just absorb myself and just be in the midst of the Father, right? So listen, y'all, I was over here minding my very own business like I always like to do, right? And reading the Bible. And the Father, in the midst of me reading, I was actually reading out of Jeremiah chapter 13. And in the midst of me reading, the Father just dropped this word into my spirit. And I was like, you know what? Let me pause reading and let me just hop into this word real quick that he's giving me. Because sometimes he do that. Like he just give you a real quick word, right? So for starters, today is now February 13th, 2022, and it is 7:08 a.m. Okay, so I was reading out of Jeremiah 13, right? And so the title of this video is going to be that, I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know what the title is going to be, okay? But so as I'm reading Jeremiah 13, right, the Father just dropped into my spirit and was like, listen, sometimes I'm just going to call you to do things that just don't make no sense, okay? It just don't make no sense to you. It don't make no sense to the people around you. It don't make no sense to the outsiders looking in. It may not make sense to your kids. It may not make sense to your family. It may not make sense to your friends, but I'm calling you to do this thing, right? And you just have to be obedient because you never know why the Father is calling you to do something. Sometimes it just don't make no sense, right? And I personally deal with this all the time. Like I am just always out here in these streets looking so extra crazy because the Father's always calling me to do things that don't make no sense, right? And so he'll call me to just do things that I'm just like, okay, Father, I don't know why you calling me to do this. I don't know what the purpose is because he doesn't even share with me all the time what the purpose even is in that moment, right? So eventually maybe he will. And if you pray about it, maybe he will. But oftentimes it'll be like down the line that I realize, oh, okay, that's why you told me to do that. I didn't understand in that moment when you told me to do what you told me to do, but I just acted in faith and I did it anyway, right? And so down the line, when things play out as a result of your obedience, you realize like, oh, okay, he'll bring back to your remembrance. Remember when I told you to do that, right? Remember when I told you to purchase that key, or remember when I told you to purchase that dress, or remember when I told you to go to the mall at such and such a time, or remember when I told you to park your car in this specific location, or remember when I told you to call up this person, right? It's like in the moment you like, okay, I don't know why this is dropping in my spirit. It just don't make no sense, but I'm going to do it anyway, right? So listen, I'm reading Jeremiah 13, right? And it says, thus says the Lord to me, go and buy a linen loincloth and put it around your waist and do not dip it in water. So I bought a loincloth according to the word of the Lord and put it around my waist. And the word of the Lord came to me a second time. Take the loincloth that you have bought, which is around your waist, and arise, go to the Euphrates and hide it there in a cleft of the rock. So I went and hid it by the Euphrates as the Lord commanded me. And after many days, the Lord said to me, arise, go to the Euphrates and take from there the loincloth that I commanded you to hide there. Then I went to the Euphrates and dug, and I took the loincloth from a place where I'd hidden it, and behold, the loincloth was spoiled. It was good for nothing, right? So now that just don't make no sense, right? So the Father is commanding this man, right, to go out and purchase a whole brand new garment, okay? And then he commands him to go take this brand new garment that he just purchased and put it in a rock, all right, in the midst of the rocks. And I'm pretty sure like he like, okay, I'm just like people looking at me like I'm just out here in these streets bugging out. Like I'm probably on PCP. Like I'm just going crazy. I'm hearing from the devil. This is Satan telling me to buy something brand new and put it in the midst of a rock because it just don't make no sense. Why would the Father tell me to go purchase something brand new to hide it? And now when I come back, it's bad. Like what is it's no use to me. Like what is the purpose of me buying something brand new only for it to get ruined? Like that couldn't have been the Father telling you that, okay? That must have been the devil telling you that, right? That's what the normal person would think, right? And not to say that they calling you the devil or anything like that, but logically to them, that's just what makes sense. It gotta be the devil, because there's no way that the Father gonna tell you to do something that crazy only for you to go purchase it and hide it for it to get ruined. What's the point? Why would the Father tell you to do that? Right? But this was in fact the Father's voice, right? And Jeremiah knew that he heard from the Father. He knew. And why did he know that? Because he spent so much time with the Father, right? Because he was a man that was constantly in prayer, constantly aware of his spirituality, constantly aware of the voice of the Father, right? Because he spent so much time communing with him. When his voice spoke, he knew it was him without a doubt. He said, I know this is the Father speaking to me, right? Because you don't know no other voice when you spend so much time with the Father. The only voice that you know is him, right? It's like, the more time you spend with him, those other outside voices begin to fade. They begin to drown. Like, they're still there, okay? They're still in the background trying to see when they can, go ahead and jump in the midst of the rope, okay? They there, but you're not going to hear, their voice is not going to be the strongest voice, okay? It's going to be his voice because you spend the most time with him. So his voice is just radiant. When he speaks, you just know that's the Father, okay? For me, prime example, like I've been just had this communication with the Father since I was a little girl. Like I talked about this in other videos. Like I was young, like when my grandmother taught me my first prayer, which is now I lay me down to sleep, right? I pray the Lord my soul to keep. We remember that, right? So that was the very first prayer that I was taught as a little girl. And I was probably about like 6 years old when she taught me this. And it's crazy how I don't remember much from those beginning years, like 5 on. It's kind of like blurry. But I remember that, okay? It's just like it happened yesterday that she was just teaching me how to pray. And she, her and I got down on the side of the bed on our hands and knees, and she said, this is how you should pray. Listen, y'all, it's about to be a tearful moment, okay? I had to just, okay? And so it was really my grandmother in that moment that really taught me what spirituality was all about, and I didn't even realize it. I was just young. I was only about like I said, 5 or 6 years old. What do I know about spirituality? What do I know about the connection with that man? But since I was a child, he had a plan and he had a purpose for me, and I didn't understand it then. And I'm gonna move on, y'all, because I feel like I'm about to cry, and I ain't here this morning for that, okay? So anyway, moving right along. So moving right along. And then the word of the Lord came to me. Thus says the Lord, even so will I spoil the pride of Jehudah and the great pride of Jerusalem. This evil people who refuse to hear my words, who stubbornly follow their own heart and have gone after other gods to serve them and worship them, shall be like this loincloth, which is good for nothing. For as the loincloth clings to the waist of a man, so I made the whole house of Israel and the whole house of Jehudah cling to me, declares the Lord. And they might be for me a people, a name, a praise, and a glory, but they would not listen, okay? So the purpose, the Father right there reveals why he told Jeremiah to do this thing. He said, because I wanted to show you, okay? And you doing this, your act of obedience by purchasing that garment and putting it in the rock, and now you go, and then I send you back a little while later, and you go and you dig it out, and now it's good for nothing. I wanted to show you that this is exactly what my people have become in my eyesight, okay? Because they have walked after other guys. They have served after other guys. They forgot about my commandments. They forgot about my statutes. They forgot about my laws. They forgot about me, right? The moment that I blessed them, the moment that I brought them into this promised land, they forgot all about me. They forgot what I had taken them through. They forgot how I had delivered them from the bondage of Egypt. They forgot how I had led them through the wilderness. The moment, okay, that I brought them into this promised land, everything that they swore and made a covenant with me in the wilderness to do before I brought them into this land, I brought them in there and just completely forgot. And I know they would. I knew they would. I was preparing for this, okay? Because the Father knows all. But guess what? He's still going to give us a chance, right? An opportunity, okay? I'm going to still give y'all this opportunity, but I already know what the outcome is going to be, right? And it was just that, okay? That they was disobedient, just as the Father had predicted, because he knows the hearts of men. He knew the hearts of our ancestors. He knew the hearts of those that he was dealing with. And he was like, listen, I already know what these people is about, okay? Despite everything that I have done for them, And he even said this to Moses, okay, before Moses passed. Despite what I have done for these people, they are still going to become a rebellious people. They are still going to follow after other gods and serve them. They are still going to go about their merry life like I don't exist, like I ain't just do everything that I just did for them, okay? They're going to forget all about that. Okay, it's just like a woman who in labor and you going through all of this pain and you pushing and you yelling and you screaming, get this child out of me. And then you give birth and a couple of months or whatever later, years later, you forget all about what that birth pain was like and you probably just pregnant again, right? And it's because you don't remember that pain of childbirth. Like it just becomes like, a vague memory in your mind. And so it doesn't stand out, because guaranteed, if that memory of what childbirth is like stood in your brain, okay, as very bold as it is in that moment, if it always resonated with your memory that way, trust me, hunty, you would not be even thinking about conceiving another child after that pain, right? And so it's the same way with the Father. Like he knew, like, I just know that these people is about to just be a hot mess when I bring them into this land. Even though I done made this covenant with them, I put before them all of these laws, statutes, commandments that they should keep. Don't go after other gods and serve them. Eat, specific things. Don't abominate your body by eating things that you're not supposed to be eating. Like he just went on and on and on and on about how they should keep themselves holy and separate, okay? And the point of him telling them to eat certain things, and the point of him telling them not to worship other gods, the point of him telling them to be an example to the Gentiles and not to become the Gentiles, is because they were set apart for the Father, okay? So it's kind of like he expects the Gentiles to act like they ain't got no sense, okay? Because they are not aware of his expectations. They did not make this covenant with him, right? He made this covenant with his people. So it's like he expects you to be on your best behavior because you know better, right? It's like your child when you take them out in public and they just get in public and act like a complete fool. And you looking at them like, is you serious right now? Is you kidding me? If you don't get up off of that floor, right? If you don't get up off of that floor right now, okay? That's what you be saying to your kids in public when they be acting like they ain't got no good sense. I taught you better than that. You know that you don't come into this grocery store and do this and be rolling on the floor and yelling and screaming and running around like you ain't got no sense. Get over here and act like you got some sense, because I taught you better. You know better, okay? Maybe a little shot down there that's acting like they ain't got no sense. Maybe they don't know better because maybe their parents ain't teach them better. But as for you, you know what my expectations are, because you know what I taught you. So don't get out here in public and act like you forgot everything I taught you at home, okay? Don't lose your mind. And that's exactly what the Father is saying to us. Like, don't lose your mind, okay? And in case you have lost your mind, you need to get back to this word, okay? And you need to read what his covenant looks like. What is he telling us to do? What is he telling us that we should be keeping? What is he telling us that we should not be keeping? What is he telling us that we should be doing? Listen, there is no excuse, because he has given us the blueprint, okay? And it is his spirit. I promise you that as you read in his word, his spirit is leading you. It's bringing you truth. It's bringing you revelation, just like in this moment. I'm minding my business and he just dropped this into my spirit, right? Because it's his spirit that's teaching me. I don't have no pastor. I don't, have no prophet coming into my life and prophesying over my life, and the Father told you to do this, and I don't have nobody, in my life leading me spiritually but this, okay? This is the only thing, okay, that I got in my life that is leading me spiritually in his word, okay, that resonates within me, that lives within me, his spirit that is upon me. That is the only thing that I have leading me and guiding me. So there is no outside voices that I have to differentiate. Wait, but the pastor said, let me go to because the Bible didn't say that just quite. Let me make sure that it's none of that for me, right? He's literally separated me from ministry, from church, from people, and put me in the comfort of his word so that I am learning truth, okay? Straight directly from his heavenly throne. There is no outside voices. There is none of that. Like, y'all know I come on YouTube. I watch other YouTubers. Like, he'll lead me to videos to watch. That's all cool. But that is not where my meat source comes from, right? My meat source comes from the word. So anything that I do see on YouTube, anything that I do hear on YouTube is always a confirmation to what the Father has already told me. And why is that? Because the Father is leading me, okay? Because I'm constantly in his word. I'm constantly reading. I'm constantly trying to see, okay, Father, what is it that you're trying to say to me? What should I be doing? What should I not be doing? Let me go to this word. Okay, I'm not going to go to pastor and say, Pastor, how should I dress? How should I talk? What should I be eating? No, I don't need to do that, because guess what? His word tells me all those things, okay? So guess what? If he leads me to church, not saying I would never go, if he led me to it for a specific reason and a purpose, and I decided to go and be obedient, and I'm sitting in the midst of the congregation and the pastor says, don't eat such and such, it's going to be confirmation to me, because guess what? I already been in his word. And I already know what his word says. So when the pastor speaks, I'm going to know, okay, that's truth. Okay. I know what the pastor is saying is truth, because I know that it lines up to the word, which I've been reading on my own time. Right. So I'm able to differentiate the difference between what the enemy is saying, what the negative forces is saying, and what the Father is saying. And how am I able to do that? Because I'm in his word. Right. So anything that's contrary to what his word is telling me, I'm rejecting it, because it don't make no sense, because guess what? That's not what I read in the word. That ain't, what you saying, Pastor, I get it. That's cool. That you put together that cute sermon, but guess what? That ain't what, that's not what the word says quite. Okay. So I know that you are mixing your own self in the midst of this scripture. Okay. And that ain't what I want. I want to know exactly what it is that the Father is telling me. Right? And the only way you will know exactly what the Father is telling you is to spend time in his word, period. There is no other way. You're not going to be able to know the difference between voices if you're just walking about life and you never open up the Bible and you never read the Bible for yourself. Okay, you will not know the difference. And a lot of people like to say, oh, well, the Bible, things was taken out. It's not real. The things was added in, and like people like to do. And listen, I'm not disagreeing with that 100%. And I'm not saying that things have not been altered, changed, blah, 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 blah. Right. But I do know that when I read this word, okay, when I read this word, and this has been this way since I was a child, when I read this word is life. It's a living. It speaks to me, okay? And when I start to question certain things in this word, the Father always reminds me of my gift, right? And one of the things that the Bible speaks about is different spiritual gifts that a person can receive, right? One of those spiritual gifts is the gift of tongues. That's what the Bible speaks about. Having the ability to speak in tongues, which is a language unknown to man. It's only a communication between you and the Father. So another person would understand if you started speaking in tongues, what the heck you saying, right? They'd be looking at you like, and you don't even understand it. You like, what am I saying? Like, as you're praying in the spirit, you don't even know what the heck you're saying. You just feel like you a foreigner yourself. You just a part of a conversation that ain't got nothing to do with you, but it's flowing from your mouth at the same time, right? And so I have that gift, okay? And one day I will share my testimony of how that gift came upon me. But listen, I have the gift of tongues. So every time I start to doubt, well, Father, how do I know this is true? How do I know that this really happened? How do I know that, whatever? I don't know. For example, the Israelites. How do I know? I wasn't there. How do I know that you really brought them out of Egypt and did all these signs and wonders? He always reminds me, daughter, the gift of tongues. You have the gift of tongues. That is a gift that is spoken about in the Bible. So obviously it has to be some truth to what this word is saying, because how do you have a gift that's listed in the Bible if it were not true? If it were not true, you would only read about these gifts and never actually experience them, right? So the Father, going back to what I was saying, will cause you to do some things that just don't make no sense. It just don't make no sense to you. It just don't make no sense to your husband. It just don't make no sense to your wife. It just don't make no sense. And guess what? It's okay. Because what he's telling you to do is not meant for it to make sense to other people. Because guess what? He didn't tell them other people to do it. He told you to do it. So the only thing you need to do is be obedient. Okay, Father, I don't know what the heck he told me to do this for, but I'm going to just do it. Right? And in due time, he is faithful to bring that thing back to your mind, just like he did Jeremiah. When he called Jeremiah to go purchase them linens, he didn't tell him off the bat, why I'm telling you to do this. He just said, go do it. And in Jeremiah's obedience of doing that act that the Father had told him to do later on, you see that the Father revealed to him, this is why I told you to go get them garments. Remember them garments I told you to go purchase and then bury? This is why I told you to do that. Now, if Jeremiah never would have been obedient to the Father and never would have gone and purchased that garment, that just didn't make no sense, and never would have buried it in the midst of dirty rocks, which just didn't make no sense, he never would have found out what the Father was trying to say to him. All right? And we don't always know the details. So when people come into you and they asking you questions, well, why did the Father tell you to do this? Why did the Father tell you to do that? Like, what is going on? Like, they want to know answers. And it's because they just logically trying to understand it. But listen, let me tell you this. And this is something that I shared with someone also, is that when the Father when he's leading you to do something, sometimes it just don't make no sense to you, so you can't explain it to other people. Okay? And it's not for you to explain to other people, because guess what? It's not for you to try to get them to make sense of it, because it really ain't none of that. Oops, see, confirmation. Listen, the tablet dropping was just proof that you will fall if you sit there. Thank you, Father. You will fall if you sit there and you try to convince people of what it is that he's telling you to do. Because in the midst of you trying to convince them, you start to get unconvinced yourself. And you will fall very hard. Thank you, Father. Just the way this tablet just fell. You will fall very hard. Okay? Very hard trying to get other people to understand your walk. You cannot afford that, okay? Your spiritual life cannot afford that. The doors that he is opening for you cannot afford that. The places he is taking you cannot afford that. The blessings that he is bringing into your hands cannot afford that. You cannot afford to get caught up in trying to make people understand the Father's move in your life. Don't get caught up in that, okay? Don't get caught up in that. And sometimes it's just better when he tells you to do something to just keep it to yourself, because guess what? You ain't got to worry about explaining nothing. Because if he says in your mind, go buy a box of shoes and put them in your suitcase, and you ain't went and told your friend Sally, listen, the Father told me to go buy these box of shoes and put it in my suitcase. I don't know why I'm doing it, but I'm going to just do it. And now Sally like, well, that just don't make no sense. All right, you done brought this box of shoes, you done put it in your suitcase, you done went on your trip, you done came back, and a box of shoes is still sitting in your suitcase. That just don't make no sense. Why? Are you sure you hear from the Father? So now Sally is starting to question what you done told her. But guess what? You brought that upon yourself, because if you never would have told Sally, well, the Father told me, you wouldn't have to worry about explaining nothing to nobody, because it would just be a communication between you and him, right? See, so he told you to do something and you acted on it in obedience and by faith. And so you don't got to worry about explaining what he told you to do, because you ain't going to run and tell nobody else. You kept it in your heart. You did what it is that he told you to do, and you moved and you acted on it. And now whatever happens after that is between you and him. All right. So that's another thing. When the Father tells you to do things, stop running off and telling people. Just keep it to your little old self and just be obedient. Okay, because the less people you tell, the less explaining that you have to worry about trying to come up with, and the less you have to worry about getting off the track that the Father has you on. Because let me tell you, people will talk you out of where the Father is taking you very quickly. They will talk you out of it so quick, you ain't even going to have a chance to understand that why your underwear got off of your body. All right, that is how quick this thing can happen. It's a dangerous place when you try to bring people in on what it is that the Father is doing in your life, especially when you don't understand it and you don't have all the pieces figured out yourself, right? You don't have the answers, because this is a faith walk for you and yourself. So if I don't know, how can I tell you? I'm still trying to figure it out, okay? If you figure it out before me and you happen to pray a special way and he deliver it to you, please let me know, because sis is over here feeling like she going crazy. So please enlighten me. Let me know what the Father is saying, because I don't understand it. I'm just running around here doing what it is that he's telling me to do, and it don't make no sense, but I'm just doing it. So I just encourage y'all to keep people out y'all business, okay? And do what it is that the Father is telling you to do. Be obedient. I don't care how crazy you got to look to be obedient. I don't care how crazy you got to look to people to be obedient, because I promise you, on the other side of your obedience is a promise. On the other side of your obedience is a testimony. On the other side of your obedience is a reason why he told you to do X, Y, and Z, A, B, C, D. Okay? It's a reason. You may not understand it in that moment, and it may not make no sense to you in that moment. But in due time, it will all make sense. It will all make sense. So listen, that is the word for this morning, y'all. I hope y'all are having an awesome morning. We have been blessed with yet another beautiful morning to open up our eyes and to just see all of his creation, his glory. And even if you don't have the ability to physically see, you can just feel it radiating within your presence, within your being. Okay? And so I will see y'all on the next video. And all my new subscribers, listen, again, thank you for subscribing to this channel. And thank you for liking, sharing, and commenting. And I do read your comments. Even if I don't always respond, sometimes I try to take a moment and just like, heart everything, or, respond to a few things. So I don't always get an opportunity to do that, but just know that I am seeing your comments. I am reading them, and I appreciate them, and I appreciate y'all. And until next time, I will see y'all later.